Hey guys, welcome back to another Arlington's Tips for Everyday Living. Today we're going to look at pest control and how we can make sure we safely and proactively take care of any pests that are in our house or in our yard. The four that we're going to focus on are moles, ants, mosquitoes, and mice. And I'm going to say this a number of times throughout the video, but please make sure that you're using caution when dealing with any of these sharp objects, potential hazards to getting a finger clamped, or even the poison that I'm going to bring up. Make sure you always use it under either adult supervision or make sure that you are being responsible when using it yourself, because sometimes we have to resort to pest poison to be able to handle some of these situations. So make sure you're using these things responsibly. Thanks, and hopefully you enjoy. In dealing with pests, there are a number of ways to take care of them. For mice, there's glue traps, there's box traps, there's poison, there's regular mouse traps. They even have these electronic things you plug into the wall and send electronic shock waves through the walls. I don't even know if those work. The point is, you want to know how and what to get to be able to get rid of your mouse problem. Now, for insects, there are a number of options. A lot of insect sprays and other things to take care of insects will tell you what they're taking care of. So when you go into Menards or Lowe's or anything like that, you want to know what animal or insect you're trying to get rid of. So you'll see, anything from wasps and hornets to ants to termites to everything in between. So you want to make sure that you know what you're trying to take care of. One of the biggest preventative measures that you can take in preventing ants is making sure that your countertops are clean of food. Any food crumbs, ants will accumulate around, and that's when they will, take that food back into their den and feast on it. So what we want to do is we want to put a trap out where we have seen the ants coming. So the trap that I have comes in two pieces. You have the base and then you have the bait. You'll attach the bait in there. You'll turn it around to basically slice the bottom foil. And then you'll put that trap where you've seen the ants. The ants will come into the trap. They'll take a little bit of the bait or poison, back to their den and hopefully eliminate the rest of them. Besides just your normal traps like I just showed you, you also have these sprays that I typically will use if there's a large infestation that really needs to be cleared out in a timely manner. So the Taro Ant Killer kills on contact, really quick job if you have a large infestation of ants in your home. Okay, so what I want to show you now is just your regular mole trap. I'll show you how to set it in the ground and how the mole will set it off here in a second, but I want to first show you how it works. Basically, the mole hits this trigger here, then the spikes will come down and hopefully get the mole. Now, it's fairly easy to set. I probably struggled for about a minute trying to set it. Hang on. Needs a little. One more time. Take that. Okay, hang on. I promise you I'll get it. One more time. I think I got it figured out. I use it about once every 2 years. But anyway, so all we need to do, there's a nice little handle on there. All we need to do is pull it up. And there we go. It's fully set. So this is hooked up
to the trigger, and so then when the trigger is hit by the mole, it would release that, and the spikes will go down then. Now, how we set it up, I'm just going to do it here so you'd be able to see it, but you will see a little mound, and if you step on it, you will mash that mound down, and that mound is where the mole is digging through your yard. You want to make sure you get rid of moles because they can tear your yard up, and they're just a pest to be around. So what you would do is you would mash their tunnel down, and you want to make sure that they are able to go through these two prongs here, okay, because this is what's going to put it into the ground. Okay, so all we're going to do then is push it all the way till it gets to the top of the ground. Let me see if I notice the trigger is laying right on top of the ground, and so when the mole digs through there on his tunnel, then that will hopefully trigger that. The spikes will go into the ground and hopefully catch our mole. Now, if the trap does not work, which I've had happen a few times, and you always want to make sure you use this responsibly if you have a mole problem, but this is a perfect way to get rid of them if your trap does not work. Another form of mole poison. It's in little pellet form, and how you put it in, basically you get a shovel. I don't have a shovel laying around. Basically you get a shovel, and you would stick the shovel into the ground, and that would give you enough. And when I say into the ground, I'm talking into their mole trail. You would stick that into their mole trail so you have access to the trail. Then you would take the scoop that is on the inside of it, put in however much the directions say, and you make sure you leave it sit. But again, with poison, you always want to be cautious because anything can get into it. Kids, pets, other animals you don't intend to. So you make sure you want to use caution and use that poison under the supervision of an adult or somebody who knows what the dangers are. First thing I want to show is just your poison blocks. Always want to use caution when handling these. Typically, you can get these in a little plastic square container that the mouse can enter, but nothing else can get the poison. So even though you have poison out, you can try to do it as safely as you can if you have pets, kids, whatever you don't want to get into the mouse poison. But do use this stuff responsibly. I'm wearing gloves right now. Anytime you want to handle it, make sure you wash your hands immediately after use. And everything that we covered today, if there has been a mouse inside of those traps or messing around with this poison, and like I said, even this poison, you want to make sure that you clean your hands thoroughly because mice can carry different diseases and things like that in their droppings and anything that they kind of touch. So just always want to be extra cautious on things like that. Next up, I want to show a traditional trap. There's a couple different types of traditional traps. This is marketed as a no-touch trap. All you would do is push it back so it's set like that, and so this is fully set. And the idea is the mouse will come in, touch this little trigger here, enough force will then clamp down on it. The reason it's marketed as a no-touch is because then when you go to remove the mouse, you're a good 4 inches away from the mouse, and you will not have to worry about getting your hands super dirty. But remember, if you do remove the mouse from the trap, you still want to make sure you wash your hands. Now, how to bait something like this. These came with a little removable cup that I always bait my traps with peanut butter with. So what I would do here, I would take a little bit of peanut butter and I would put in there. Now, granted, if this was me actually trying to catch a mouse, I'd put that a little bit harder in there rather than just leaving it on the surface like this. And for this style of trap, we would just put it there and a couple of twists. There we go. And now that trap has peanut butter in there. And again, when they would go in to try to get the peanut butter, it would clamp down on their finger. There's other styles of traps like this as well, where you can kind of set the trigger to be even lighter. But this is just one that I bought from Blanchard River Pallets. I heard those guys run a pretty good company over there, so check them out on Facebook. But anyway, that's the second kind of trap that you can use. And finally, the third trap, besides what I mentioned in the video. There's also sticky traps, but I'm not going to show you any of those. I'm not going to go over them too much here. But anyway, the third kind of trap is a live trap. The idea is that you would put them up against a wall, okay, wherever mice are going. So in this case, if the mouse is running along that wall there, we would set it all the way, and it's set. That's all that needs done with it. The reason this is a no-kill trap is because it does exactly as it sounds. It does not kill the mouse. What happens is it enters this end here. There's like a trap door. Open it up there. And it'll get caught inside of this compartment. Now you can bait this compartment. If you wanted to use a poison block, you can, but you know, they're pretty much gonna go and eat the whole poison block. So you wanna be careful in wasting all of your poison. But the issue with these is you're going to have to empty it. You're going to have to empty a live mouse in there. So you're going to use caution when doing that because, again, you're going to have to get your fingers close to the mouse. And when the mouse is still alive, you're then going to have to safely throw them out in the field or, you know, dispose of them wherever. So those are the 3 types of mouse traps to hopefully help you out in getting rid of mice. The next one I'd like to cover is not how to catch mice, but how to prevent mice. And one of the things that I've always been taught and told on how to prevent mice is to go around your house and look for anything that the mice can get in, okay, any holes. Mice can actually get in to a hole the size of a dime is what I've been told. It's smaller than a dime, but I just want to show that because that's the kind of the biggest gap that I can show you. So all you would do is you would take some steel wool and a screwdriver, and you would take just a little bit of steel wool out. And again, what we want to do is clog up these holes to prevent mice from being able to come in here. Okay, so all we would do then is take our screwdriver, and I'm just using a very little bit here. You'd want to use more to be able to clog up every hole that you have. And basically all you would do is take your screwdriver and push that back in there, and you would be able to clog up, you know, that hole. But again, I'm just kind of showing you an example. This necessarily is not a danger for mice to come in. Next, I want to talk with you about how to deal with mosquitoes. First is just your stereotypical mosquito spray. Now, what people don't realize is there's different types and potencies of your mosquito spray. The potency that you need to look at is the DEET. This is the chemical in mosquito sprays that are going to keep mosquitoes away from you. The higher the DEET, the more chances that you're going to be protected from, you know, having them buzz you. This one here in particular is 15% DEET. The deep woods off is going to be 25-30% DEET. Now, if you have small children, typically you want lower DEET for the children. So in your family mosquito sprays or your kids specific mosquito sprays, you may only have 8 to 10% DEET. This one here, even though it says family care, is 15% DEET, but again, the higher that it goes, the more likely mosquitoes are going to be repelled. Now let's say this stuff isn't working, or in our cases that I've had at many of the houses that I've lived in, if they're getting in through, you know, the door when somebody opens it, or a window if you open up for a breeze or whatever, one, you probably have a hole in your screen, but two, to kind of get rid of mosquitoes, I've used sprays or foggers. Okay, I'm just going to show you a couple of basic ones today. There are far more advanced ones and more potent than this. But basically for this one, you would hook this up to the hose, and then it's basically a solution that will mix with what's on the inside. You spray it on your yard or anywhere that is affected, and the mosquitoes are out. Some things will claim 5 weeks, or will protect your yard up to will protect your yard from mosquitoes for, you know, a certain amount of time. So make sure you look at that. The one that I use if I want a quick solution is the Cutter Backyard Bug Control Fogger. And what's really nice about this, it's just a point and shoot. Okay, so we give the can of spray. Let's say we wanted to spray these front bushes here. All we do is shake it up, and it reaches about I want to say 10 feet or so. And all we do is we would spray then. Okay, so we would just go and spray everything that we wanted to protect from mosquitoes. So then this fogger then, for me, it lasts about 1 to 2 weeks with it being sprayed on those bushes. So if I sprayed it on these bushes, 1 to 2 weeks, I would have
some success with it. And again, that's the Cutter Backyard Bug Control Fogger. Now this stuff ranges, I think I just bought a 2-pack for around $8 or $9 at Menards the other day. So again, if you use this, hopefully that'll protect your yard from having mosquitoes lay eggs. Another thing you want to worry about for mosquitoes and trying to prevent them is not only the foggers, but it's also with making sure that there's no standing water in your yard. So last year we had a kiddie pool. It had water in it for a couple of days, and eventually you'll be able to see the mosquito eggs or larvae, whatever you want to call them, swimming around in there. So you want to make sure that you clean up any standing water. So if you clean up your standing water, you spray these foggers around the areas where you're hanging out the most, that's where you're going to have the most success in controlling your mosquitoes.